a recent article that I saw that was actually posted on the 24th of August, which was just a couple days ago. It's about mothers that were demanding a teacher to be fired because of her body. Did you see that article?
I did.
So they said basically that it was distracting to the students. What is your take on that?
I think it's horrific that we are judging women still by the shape of their body and based on like what kind of job you can have by what you look like, what curves are not curves you have. Like, I think it's terrible that we're like shutting kids down too of like what they're capable of or what they're processing.
Right.
A little similar but different is like, as a teacher with autism, like of kids with autism, they would always say like, don't have bright colors in your classroom because it's too stimulating. But when you go and like to have only tans and neutral colors, but when you go into the real world, it's colors everywhere, right? Like, we want to teach our kids to have respect for women, respect for their bodies, to love and appreciate, right? Like, I think the classroom is a beautiful place to even begin to learn that, or like have that respect or that cherish, or like that everybody's different, right? Like, this like one size fits all, or you have to have this specific thing, is we got to get rid of that.
Well, because it's interesting, because if you think of it on the contrary, if a really, really skinny teacher was working at a school, no one would say anything.
No one would say anything.
Is that because people sexualize the more curvy body? Is that where it like lies, do you think?
Yeah, totally. I think it gets sexualized, and like me, where I would get dress coded based on like, I'd wear the same thing as everyone else. We had to wear a polo and jeans. I wore just the same as everybody else, but would get dress coded because I had curves.
So would you stand up for the girls who wear more curvy that would get dress coded because of that situation?
1000%. Yeah, it should be equal.
Right.
Like, you're wearing jeans, I'm wearing jeans. Like, it's all the same.
Because, you know, if a girl's a little bit thicker and wearing jean shorts, sometimes they look a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
And compared to a girl who doesn't have as much meat on her legs. And so it's you know, it's really unfair, especially being a girl who's young and trying to love herself. High school, middle school, even elementary school, like those are all such hard years for a young girl, especially if you don't have a good upbringing, and you never know where these kids are coming from. Their family dynamics, and so they want to come to school and feel good, and then they have teachers who shame them for what they're wearing, and you never know, you know, what if that's the only thing they had to wear?
Right.
So that's good that, you know, you would stand up for that, because it's crazy that parents who aren't even in the school will just judge off of what they see on the outside of the school.
Too, being that teacher and finding out that your kids' parents that you spend all day with, most of the time, like, I spent more time with my students than my students' parents did.
Of course, yeah.
Did so much for those kids every day. Like, I had kids that had seizure disorders that I'm administering medications. Like, I'm keeping these kids alive.
Right.
That you would then turn around and say something terrible about somebody based on their appearance?
Yeah.
Like, that's gross.
And you would think in 2022 things would be different, but literally just 3 days ago.
I got sent the article many times because it was so similar to my own.
Did you talk about it at all on your social media?
I have not yet, because I've been here, but yeah, I'm gonna address it, because it is such a, it's mind blowing to me that we're still here.
So your story, you said, was a little bit similar. Tell us about what happened with you.
Just like I was getting in trouble, like dress coded, I got called. So I was posting my progress pics on Instagram. My page was private, so students couldn't get into it.
Right.
I went by Courtney Lynn on Instagram at the time so that my students couldn't find me. But what happened was the school server downloaded every website that anybody was on at the school and saved to the school server. So what was happening was there was getting a lot of talk about my Instagram photos, and all, like, each classroom had a minimum of 3 staff. And so all these staff are like finding out about my Instagram and looking at my photos. Well, they're all saving to the school server.
Wow.
And so they have all my booty
Did you
pics,
know this at the time?
No
Is this
idea.
legal?
I don't know, but that's what was happening. And so they have, and so essentially they're watching everything that you're doing, right? Every website you're on.
I'm sure you were like the hot topic. They're probably like, what is she doing this weekend? Like, you know, the hot teacher. Exactly.
So the administration was too nervous to call me to the office, so they called my husband to the office to talk to him about my pictures and how they were concerned about, you know, my expression.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been on the news a couple of times talking about your story. Is that basically what you would touch on? And kind of, did you get good responses from that when you would do that?
I got mostly good responses from like other teachers who are like, thank you for showing us that there's like another way, because it is a job where people aren't getting appreciated, respected, and the pay, obviously we've known the pay hasn't been good for a long time, but like there's other components in it, so people are really grateful that like I'm showing that there's other options, whether it is OnlyFans or just like another path. I have gotten some hate from like parents groups who are like, I can't believe this is what's happening with our teachers. But like,
do you think that stems on jealousy though, in a way?
Jealousy and not understanding like that like our body is wrong. It comes from like shame, it comes from guilt, it comes from religious trauma, it comes from society shaming us. Like all of those things together have put so much pressure on teachers that it's like we can't even live to your standards. Yeah.
No, it really is impossible these days, especially because people are so overwhelming with their opinion, especially in places where it's unhealthy. It's like if they have kids going to school, you know, and that's how they're being raised, and then they see somebody like you who's stopping that way of thinking and being bold and loud about it. It's so important because there's really not many teachers who would do, or ex-teachers, I guess, who would do that and stand up for the teachers. You know.
Totally.